before you go live. Okay, you went live with it. Bad mic.
Still bad? It's still bad?
Yeah, it's a little bad.
Sure.
All right, let me
Well, it just sounds low.
Oh, hold on. That's just the gain. There we go. It should be
It
better.
just sounds super low.
There's some static too.
Oh, Hyundai Ioniq 6. I fucking know.
And you're Jesus, and you're too loud.
Christ.
When will this
Every fucking day.
All right. Well, welcome to Finance Junkies. How was your guys' day before July 4th? Anything interesting happen? No? Oh, because you guys can't hear me?
Oh, we hear you.
We can hear you.
Oh, I was like, damn, no.
We're thinking of an answer.
Unintentionally ignoring me. But okay, fine. Here we go.
I ended up going to a chiropractor today. It was eye-opening. I'm starting to feel like I'm getting older. I haven't necessarily had a lot of back issues, but like I'm starting to like feel that like zone of, hey, I'm not feeling as good when I wake up in the morning anymore. So I figured let me go, and yeah, it was a little eye-opening. I definitely have to lose weight. Like that's like been one of those things that over the last like 3 years post-COVID, I've really like gotten bad with that. If I don't solve that sooner, I'm gonna be like exposed to a lot more like diseases going forward. So that's like the priority for 2023. The rest of 2023 is just lose weight.
Why don't you just hit the gym like you were? You started when we did the
Yeah.
when we did the challenge.
Yeah, New York definitely like put that on a hold for me. But now that I'm back home in Atlanta, I should be able to. So yeah,
that's right. Well, before we get started, I wanted to say, Amit, thanks so much for that post today, dude.
1,000 followers, baby.
Oh
yeah,
no, it wasn't 1,000, 1,100.
Yeah, dude. Like, here's what's funny. I was out to lunch. I don't get to go out to lunch too much with my wife, so I went out to lunch when like the message came in. I was like, "What?" And she's like, "What happened?" And I was like, "Amit." Like she knows you. I was like, "Yo, Amit posted something," and so yeah, we had a little cheers. We had a little.
What did you guys eat for lunch?
We went to get some Thai food, which is like, it's one of the best Thai spots out here. It's one of the few restaurants that's a destination where I live, because I live sort of out in the suburbs. But this is actually a location where people drive from like the main part of LA to come visit. But we were out there, and I was like, yo, I got to write him back. I got to write him back, whatnot. And it's like, and so, yo, on a personal level, I want to say thanks, because I don't know, people that know me, I have had to really fight for everything in my life. Like I can count on one hand, probably the number of times that I felt like someone did something nice for me that was unprompted. Like on one hand, probably like 3, and including this. So I was really taken aback. Like you didn't have to do that. So I appreciate it.
I don't know. Look,
I'm not going to have sex with you though.
What do you say?
Said I'm still not going to have sex with you though.
Yeah, it was just a gateway to get me to really see some good
muted, Vitaly.
Oh yeah,
bro, you're the one with. Yeah, go ahead. Sorry,
Amit's not being generous. We don't get paid for spending 16 hours a week on this. Okay? He's the only one keeping the super chats. I've never gotten an Uber Eats delivery to my house. He knows where I live. He could surprise me.
Who pays when you go to Cheesecake Factory?
Bro, I said, let me buy it. I was like, yo, let me out the super chat. He's like, no, I'm going to buy it. I'm like, all right, bro, okay.
I paid last time. I don't know why I did that. He's the one raking it in.
Well, it's because you are a multi-billionaire along with Chris and Carlos. And so you guys, $40 doesn't mean that much to you guys. But no, like the reason I did that, Carlos, is because I'm like, 1, I saw you were so fucking close. 2, I'm like, it'll be great if all the junkies have 1,000 followers. And 3 is just like, why not? It's
no, I appreciate it. Listen, I started, that account was dormant. I was using the freelancer finance account primarily up until then. So that account started in May. I started that account with 50 followers in May. That's a lot of grinding, a lot of tweeting.
And you worked your ass off to get to the first 950 before.
Yeah, right.
Like, that's a lot of fucking work,
Yeah. So no, it's been fun.
This guy doesn't sleep. He's on Twitter 24/7.
I'm on the grind, bro. Don't hate the player, hate the game.
So when is what happens now that you have we're over 500? What do you do? What happens?
Well, I've applied to be like a content creator, like a Farzad or like a.
Bro, the problem is that Twitter hasn't approved. I don't know what's going on, bro, but they haven't approved subscriptions for like anybody.
You know why I think they're doing it? I don't know this for sure. I think they're doing it because what they want is they want a small set, just like YouTube, a very small set that for people that get all the followers, so that you can establish what the community is. If you open it up too much, it's going to be a bunch of people just subscribing to everybody, and it's going to dilute the amount, like the follower.
Maybe,
account.
but it's
that's what I think.
It's the Patreon model. The more creators you have, it's like literally up to us to get the subscribers. Twitter gets a cut. They have to do nothing. So I just don't know why you wouldn't open it up to everyone as soon as possible, you know? So I'm sure they're dealing with technical stuff because it's probably
not ready. That's
it's
really
probably not
the
ready
bottom line.
because think about this. If they did that tomorrow, right, and you wanted to go and you wanted to say monetize that subscriber base, what could you offer them? A couple of audio only. You need to be able to, you know, StreamYard live to Twitter.
That's true.
You need
That's
to
true.
have a conversation. They need to establish a UI to have a chat like YouTube underneath. So I think it makes sense not to do it now because if I learned, you know, if they learned anything from I don't know if you guys remember Mobile Me when Apple announced Mobile Me years ago. It was just they launched a product that wasn't ready, and then it took them forever to have people adopt it. So you can't mess that kind of a thing up out of the gate. It has to be ready. That's what I think.
Yeah, I agree. Because that would be so easy. I mean, Chris has talked about, you know, like, I don't really want to start a Patreon. I don't want to do all that. If you could do Twitter for $2 a month and you get some exclusive tweets and like that, it's just so easy to do. I feel like it'd be
Even that I'm like a little bit uncomfortable with. It's like how can I ask people to give me money when I am supposedly making money doing my investing? Like when I see guys like Gary Black who are millionaires, you know, behind a paywall, it's like, Gary, dude, do you really need the $5 or whatever that the subscribers are putting out? Like, and here's the thing, if I were to do it, honest to God, I would probably not give any additional stuff to that because I feel like you guys, I don't know how to describe it. I don't want to monetize an audience. Like, I feel like if you're a good investor and you can live on the dollars that you're making, you don't need to monetize your followers. Like, even when it comes to, like, some people have reached out to me and say, hey, Chris,
this
why
sounds
don't you
like
have
the
a Patreon?
opposite.
Huh?
This sounds like the opposite of what you're supposed to be doing. Because you need to, as you get more of a following, Chris, okay, and you stop doing your day job, you're going to need to replace that income somehow. So that income has to come from the people who actually enjoy listening to you speak.
No, I disagree. I disagree completely. I disagree 1000%.
Why?
I got a DM today on Instagram, a guy who said, Amit, thank you for all the Palantir, blah, 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 and thank you for not shoving an ad in my face every 5 seconds, which means the audience on financial YouTube is getting all these fucking offers in their face by all these other YouTubers.
Oh, yeah.
They're finding some breath of clarity for a guy who doesn't need to.
That's fine. You're talking about an ad. I'm saying just support you, Amit, to continue doing what you're doing because you cannot do it for free indefinitely. That's impossible.
No, I mean, the way that I would say it is, I would love to, like, if someone wants to give me, like, you know, buy me a cup of coffee or whatever, I'm okay with it. That's fine. But I don't feel like it's a good idea to say, you know what, I am going to tell the world X, Y, and Z, but if you pay me, I'll tell you about extra stuff, you know. And I think what it is I see your point, Vitaly, that, hey, you know, if you want to, like, let's say one day quit your job and do this thing. My whole thing is, if I'm a good investor, I don't need to monetize my audience. You know what I mean? Like, I can live on my own,
Can I make
my own chops.
Can I counter that, Chris? Because sometimes I think you're like a victim of your own niceness. And I think, for example, when you made the presentation to us about Truist back in the day, there was like a 4-hour presentation. How long did that take you to put that together with slides and whatnot? And I think what Vitaly is talking about is, like, you have your content that is public, and then for the real deep, the DD, the research, the part that you actually put time in, that's a way of monetizing an hourly rate for the DD that you did. Because look, Truist could go to zero, right?
Yeah.
I still disagree. I still disagree. If you give all that DD for free, the community and authenticity you build, the fucking, like, man, I love this guy you build, so that the next time he actually needs to ask for something when he has like 30,000 followers, it's a guaranteed conversion versus selling out when you have 5,000. I think you build community. I think you.
Well,
build
wait, let me ask Amit the question. So what's the point that you're doing this for?
You're thinking too much about. First of all,
no.
I got offered 20,000 to do a sponsorship last summer.
Okay,
I rejected it.
What's the point? So what? Let's say 5 years from now, you're doing this completely.
The point is to build
free.
influence.
That's fine.
Followers.
What happens from that influence?
Yeah, but
eventually
the thing
you
is,
monetize. But the point
you
is,
monetize
you don't
it.
sell out
So you're just saying I'm going to do it later. That's all you're saying.
Yeah.
Well,
but you do it when you
no.
have something meaningful to sell. Not
That's
for
fine, but you're just saying I'm going to do it later. You're
Right,
just saying I don't want to do it now.
Everyone's going to do it. It's just you don't have to do it when Chris is just starting to grow, when we're just starting to grow.
Fine. That's fine.
For me, I think I would. No,
just because I want to get this going in the chat. There's 259 or 267 people that are watching right now. What do you guys think about the conversation that we're talking about now? If we were to create something that was behind a paywall, if we had a Patreon, if we had something like I don't know, a Finance Junkies Twitter, would you guys subscribe to that? Do you feel like it's taking advantage of the audience? And then maybe we do it as a poll. What would you guys pay? And what would you expect for that money?
Chris, go ahead.
Yeah, I would say I would rather monetize sponsors rather than monetize an audience. Like, so if someone said, "Hey, Chris, we have this great product. If you want to try it, you have this large following." I'd say, "Okay, let me try the product. Let me see if it's something that's good." And if it's something that I personally would use, I would say, "Hey, you know what? Maybe this is something that I could use to monetize to support my lifestyle as I give away my due diligence for free." At the end of the day, I mean, yes, everyone is always looking for avenues of monetization to replace their income. But I feel like if you're a good investor, especially in our genre, we're good investors. We can't be going to people and saying, "Hey, I want your $5." Like, what does that mean? Like, I'm a multimillionaire.
Dude, I don't
Yeah.
buy a house in order to put tenants in there so they enjoy their time there by themselves. I need to get something out of it. At the end of the day, no offense to anybody, but if I'm doing this every day for 5 days, for 6 days a week, I don't even know what the fuck it is now.
Yeah, but it doesn't need to be money. It can
Basically,
just be
a year
influence.
from now, if there is $0 behind it, like you're saying, because you're such a good investor, then there's no point to
Yeah,
continue.
but if there's 100,000 followers,
No, but once again, you're saying after a certain point, you're monetizing the audience.
yeah,
That's what
because
you're
let me tell you,
saying.
if you make a film and you get 100,000 people to pay $1 each to watch the film because
Right.
they love you
There's
so
a lot of
much.
filmmakers who make movies, by the way. I'm one of them, where we get nothing at the end of it except someone who claps their hands for 2 seconds.
Right, and
That's
a
not gonna
30-minute
that's not gonna
Q&A.
make the second film. That's not gonna continue the career. So the career has to come to a certain point where it sustains itself. And so Chris is being very, very generous with his time. So I say, since he's so generous, we're splitting it 33% each, Amit, Carlos, and Vitaly, because Chris doesn't need it. He's going to survive on his financial TFC gains.
No, I mean,
So
look, you have a point. You have an
that's
argument. You have an argument. It's just, I think if you can hold your breath the longest before you sell out, and I don't say that in a negative way,
I agree with
you have
you
the
there.
most leverage. That's all.
I agree with you there, by the way. But I think what Chris was saying was completely ludicrous, because at some point, even he wants to not go to a job and just do this type of a thing. And in order to do that, his wife is not going to let him sit in front of a computer for $0 a day. Like, that's not going to happen.
I don't know, man. My sugar mama's got it pretty covered. She's okay.
Well,
I mean,
there's got to be income coming in, unless you're not reinvesting your dividends.
I have 2 kids to pay for. It's not going to be just because this is so much fun for fucking 10 years. That doesn't make any sense.
Then again, you know what? What I'm saying right now is coming from a place where I have everything financially pretty okay set, but that doesn't mean that once I have kids and once I like really want to do YouTube as a full-time career, maybe that's something that I would probably think about again and say, you know what, if people do want to support me, I'll do it. I just don't like when people go 100% behind a paywall and then monetize the shit out of their audience. Like, the Meet Kevins of the world are what really drive me nuts, because it's like, dude, I at one point,
I respect that, by the way. We're not saying that.
I respected Meet Kevin a lot, and I really liked watching his videos. But now every time I'm watching, it's every 30 seconds. It's like, hey guys, blah blah blah, but buy my course. Hey guys, blah blah blah, buy my course. And it's like, come on, man. Like,
you're making you're making the argument about why we shouldn't do any of this, like paid sponsorships. Every time I hear about AG1, or every time I hear about AG1 or any of these things, once you start, because look, you're either working for your audience or you're working for a brand, right? And I would much rather have the audience self-sustaining us than a brand.
Yeah, I agree. I would like, those are the kinds of conversations we will definitely have to have once we're later in all of this, and we end up like, I would love to commit a lot more time to answering people's thing on Twitter, talking to people personally, like having that interaction. I don't have the time to do that. I do still have a full-time job. I do invest on the side. I do a lot of research on my own. Like you guys have seen, I don't do like a couple of minutes here and there. I like really peruse through a lot of stuff. So some of it I share exclusively with you guys. Some people have asked me like to give them a refresher on and teach them how to do X, Y, and Z. And I'm just like, sorry guys, I'm not the guy. Like, not to mention, I don't have the certifications. Like, you have to remember, anything that we say right now, if you want to monetize it, like literally give professional advice, you need the certifications.
We're not monetizing the advice.
But that's something
we're not monetizing the advice. You're monetizing entertainment. I think a lot of people just watch us for entertainment. There's people that are probably not invested in any of the stocks that we're in and just watch.
But some people actually are reaching out to me for that, and I tell them politely, like, no, I'm sorry, I don't do that.
Okay, it's fine. Look, I think Chris now has to just agree. It's 33% each. It's cool. I'm actually I'll take
I'll take
All
my
right.
25% and donate it to
all of
charity.
a
Just to
sudden,
piss
he
you
wants
off,
his
Vitaly.
25%.
He's like, well, as long as you guys.
I'll
he's like,
donate to
going to the
charity
bar.
just to piss off Vitaly. That's
Hold
what I'll
on a
do. I'll,
minute.
I'll
I'm
short.
gonna-
I'll take that money and short end phase with it just to piss off Vitaly. That's
You
what
can
I'll
short
do.
end phase all you want. I'll sell you
As long as
the
you
I'll sell
money.
you the contracts.
I
You
know.
can short it. You'll
Okay,
pay me the
quickly,
7%.
Vitaly, there's a question in the chat. I want to do this question real quick, then we'll go to Tesla deliveries. Someone asked, should I sell all my Tesla to...
Hold on. Before that happens, by the way, we do have a Discord, and it's very valuable to everybody who uses it. And we ask people to join the Patreon, not for our financial advice, but to help support us. And we have $5 a month to support us. So please don't support Chris and admit they don't need it. Me and Carlos do need it because we're struggling. We have a couple of kids. We have
Got the
so
5 kids
come
to
join the
feed.
Discord, baby, and we have.
Man,
great
I didn't know
Discord by
Tesla
everybody.
shareholders were doing that poorly this year.
We're doing very
Goodness.
poorly. Yeah.
Well, the last bit that I want to.
It's only up 60-70%. It's not enough.
I know, dude. But it's not like we have. It's not like we have any, spread contracts on TFC.
Yeah, we have no spread contracts on Tesla. We just have the shares. We were done.
Vitaly does have some spread contracts on.
That's right,
TFC,
Jasper. I
but-
would monetize everything because at the end of the day, let's face it, guys. You this is entertainment, and if we are being entertainment and you like it, it's okay to give somebody $5. I go watch different podcasts. There's actually some I don't know if you know Quarter Digital and all these other sort of like film podcasts. I always tip. I always put money in because those guys are grinding. You know what? It's not because I want some course from them. It's because I support what they're doing, and that's all we're saying.
Well,
And
my wife just ruled. My wife just ruled on this. She's like, money is, even though I would like to do it for free. She's like, trying to go to Italy, bro. You're too nice. Time is
trying to go
money.
to that Cinque Terre, bro.
Exactly.
Look, just to add to that, I'm on Twitter. I'm subscribed to a bunch of people. I'm subscribed to Elon Musk. I'm giving the world's richest man $2 a fucking month. I'm subscribed to Gary Black. I'm subscribed to Farzad. Farzad does not need my money. Neither does Warren. At Whole Mars Catalog, those guys don't need my money, but it's a sign of support that you appreciate what they do, and that I would hope that it's returned in the in the future. Besides, some of the stuff that they offer is like, for example, Farzad will offer like members only spaces. Those things have tremendous insight when it's a much smaller group of people that you can just get in there and talk to them. Whole Mars Catalog does the same thing. Gary Black will take some of the research that you see on the public channel and put the really detailed research, like along the same lines of the DD that you do, Chris, and that's only available to subscribers. And you get a lot of valuable information. So it's not like he's telling me what to do, but if he's out there all day immersed in this information while I'm here working my day job, it's kind of nice to have a friend that's like, oh, hey, by the way, did you look at these numbers? You might want to look at this. It's nice. So the value isn't always like do this with your portfolio. It's just information, right? And these guys collect information that is valuable. So
yep, I agree with you,
way
Carlos.
to look at it, man.
Okay, Tesla deliveries. Got to talk about that.
Fuck that.
466K deliveries. Let's start with you, Chris. Let's get your thoughts first. What were your thoughts on those numbers?
Before we continue, let's go to our AG1 ad.
Chris's
Let it
Take
go.
is brought to you by
Brought to you by T. Earl Grey.
it's brought to you by the
T.
all new Hyundai Ioniq.
No, it's brought to you by TFC. Okay, never mind.
Okay.
I'd say it wasn't surprising, but also kind of surprising. I thought the credit markets were a little bit more frozen, so you would have saw some demand drops, but then again, there was a big counterbalance with those price cuts. Now the question is going to be like, how are they going to impact margins in the short term, which is what I'm guessing that a lot of the bear case is going to be for Tesla. But I don't know how much I'd play into that, only because if you're able to grow really fast, that short-term profitability drop means absolutely nothing. Like you really need to just keep growing sales. So you see here that Elon made a gut decision, said, look, we are going to launch a price war with the other EVs. We're going to start cutting costs, and it's paying dividends right now by getting a lot more sales, right? So while other companies right now are cutting back on production because, they're like, oh, we don't want to make this car if it's not going to be a certain profitability level. Tesla's like, look, we have enough of a margin to take the hit and end up giving these giant discounts. It sucks for existing Tesla car buyers who bought at the highs, but at the same time, for anyone really looking to get into an EV, the choices are becoming clearer and clearer that Tesla is probably going to be the one that you're going to go with, considering that they have so many positives behind it, including a charging network that's super supportive, a mobile fleet that does all the repairs. At this point, a really good safety rating system. Yeah, I think it was a good move by Elon in hindsight.
Well, as part of one of Gary Black's subscriber only on Twitter, there was a whole conversation that was had about that, about the pricing strategy. And my point was basically like, can we put this conversation to bed? Okay, have we settled this debate already about Tesla and advertising, and also all the shit that they got for compressing for compressing margins? It's to your point, they did sell a record number of vehicles, but every vehicle that they sold, they stole one from another company. That's one more sale that they're not going to get that one of the other legacy automakers, and that value too. So now we're going to look at earnings. I believe that what we're going to see is that they've actually been able to lower costs at the same time that they lowered prices. And so I don't think we're going to see the margin compression that the Wall Street's expecting. And I think that's going to be another like massive bullish signal to Wall Street that like these guys know what they're doing. That's what I'm looking forward to. That's the second part of this equation. Now we need to see what the earnings are and see if it actually did affect the bottom line. So if we're anywhere over 20% margins, forget it, man. We're going to go up to yet the next level, maybe another 18, 20 bucks.
I doubt we're over 20% gross margins.
You think so? What do you think we land?
Are we at 18 right now on the margin?
I think it's sticking somewhere around there in the high teens. Absolutely.
We'll see.
Because these price cuts have been pretty massive.
But the price cuts were amplified by tax incentives. That's not.
Can you share my screen real quick?
Either way, they sold more cars, and they're going to keep selling more cars.
That's my point. If they make
a
little bit less, if they make a little bit less money on a substantially greater volume, then it should balance itself out.
The other big benefit that they're going to have is the drop in commodity prices is definitely going to help their margins, right? Remember, at the end of the day, it takes product in order to manufacture. So cost of lithium has gone down by more than a half. Going all to May, if you look at it, it was even further than that, right? So the cost of lithium
Can
is
you
down
look at a longer term chart than just like a year?
Yeah, sure. Let's do all. Here you go. So you can see that lithium prices in 2020 were actually around $9,000. 9,000 yuan a ton, right, for lithium carbonate. And then it had jumped all the way, especially in 2022 during December, all the way to like 60. Is that 60? No, 600,000, right? So you can see that there's been a substantial increase in lithium carbonate prices. So that precipitous drop is where they could probably end up capitalizing a little bit, because remember, the most expensive part of the EV is actually the battery, right? And the main component is lithium carbonate for the battery. So in that sense, it would make sense. The other thing is like steel and I think aluminum, right? They make majority of it via aluminum.
What's the vehicle? It's a specific alloy of aluminum. Yeah, but it is aluminum.
Yeah. So you can see steel is down considerably from where it was. So all the input costs for production have started to like really go down. And that might be where they're saying, look, instead of increasing our margins, let's increase our sales. So whatever money that they're saving on raw materials, they can plow that into discounting for the cars. So that's why, I mean, if you look at it, 2021, 2022, people paid so much money for the Teslas, probably because, Tesla had to make a margin on it. So they probably had a ton of raw material input costs. So
bring up Stephen Xiao's point, because I think that is true. Elon has said they have long-term contracts. I don't know how many years these contracts are for.
So this is right here, a great thing that this person said. This guy says that they have long-term contracts. The thing is, though, they have long-term contracts that are actually floating rate with a baseline, but nothing that's like I'll show you while you guys talk. I'll actually bring this whole conversation up, and this will destroy this argument in like 2 seconds.
I actually was also looking for, I don't know if you saw the recent interview where he was talking about the semi, and the semi does relate to this. One of the reasons why they haven't hit the production numbers, he said, is because they just didn't have the batteries. And so now that they have the batteries, he's expecting, what did he say? I think he said, what did he say? 50. I got to look it up. People saying that there's going to be an electrification of the semis over the next couple of years, and now they're going to go into volume production as of 2024. Now, how does that relate? What that means is if they have enough batteries to make these fucking semis, then they have enough batteries to make all the vehicles that they need for this year. You know, if you do the math, if you say that Q3 and Q4, Tesla doesn't make any more vehicles than they made just this quarter, they're at 1.9 million vehicles. So we're breaking 2 million vehicles this year. There's a really good chance that
What was quarter one? What was quarter one?
I forgot. It was 400 and God, I forgot. But I don't know who it was.
Well, this was 466. Are you saying if they just stay at that, even if you do?
Yeah, what I'm saying is if you count Q1 and Q2, and if you say Q3 and Q4 are exactly what the
it's like 1.8. Yeah, 1.85.
It was 1.9 the way that it was calculated, depending on what the Q1 numbers are. So
no, the Q1 is less than 466.
Yeah, I mean, I can find the tweet, but I'm just saying he guided for 2 million, but he was trying to be more realistic at 1.8. And that's roughly where the street's going. So it looks like we're going to have at least 2 more quarters of beats.
Q1 was 422.
Which is basically saying, Amit, you got to get in a position, bro. Like, we got to get you into Tesla because
not anymore.
Not a good news.
I don't know if you should be running into Tesla now.
Can you share the screen real quick? So you can see here, Tesla, they ended up accepting a supply deal. So instead of doing it based on a fixed amount, it's actually market-based pricing that they're doing their supplies in, right?
Okay.
So they were smart. In January, they saw the drop coming, and they just renegotiated to say, look, instead of having a fixed contract, we're going to do it the other way around. So you can see here, they really did a good job in modifying their supply chain. So basically instead of so yeah, here it is. So if you guys want to take a look, you can search for it. But Tesla production costs could rise after lithium supplier revised deal, right? Everyone thought, oh my God, the prices are going to go up, but they ended up just changing it to market rate, which meant that the price drop in what is that thing called? In lithium is going to be beneficial to them. So
the thing that you got to remember, Chris, is when Tesla says that they're lowering input costs, it's not necessarily lithium. This is in manufacturing. Yes, so there are some supply chain efficiencies, but some of it's in manufacturing. Literally, the more vehicles they make, the better deal they get on the raw materials, the more efficient they are at making the vehicles. Even something like Cybertruck, for example, moving to
if you can produce double the cars from the same place with the same people, obviously the price goes down per car.
Exactly. And Farzad had a great video. I don't know if you saw on Twitter. He had a great video where he was trying to estimate what the price of the Cybertruck was going to be. And they're calculating even the weight of the raw materials, just like the weight of the materials that is necessary to make it. The Cybertruck will need less materials than other vehicles. Even switching to 48-volt technology, just going from 12-volt wires to 48-volt wires. You have no idea what that does weight saving wise. And then multiply that by the entire fleet. It's little efficiencies like that. Yes, lithium. The cost of lithium is important, but those are what they mean when they say that they were able to lower manufacturing costs, and they can continue to do that.
So should I FOMO into Tesla then?
I mean, we didn't get the pullback. We didn't see the pullback, but it's also it's July 3rd. I don't know. Usually towards the end of the week, you'll get better prices. But I mean, what's the difference? Are you going to care? Like if you bought Tesla stock today, are you going to be upset that you paid $18 more a share?
Maybe, probably not.
It's $18. You know what I mean?
You know, while we're on the subject of Tesla, I just wanted to show someone something pretty much our audience, something very interesting that could be a future business for Tesla. I mean, because they already are doing the energy thing. So let me just share my screen real quick. This is not a Tesla battery setup, but this is something that someone from Nissan uses. It's only a 4-minute video, so let's enjoy it. Watch.
We're not gonna get a strike for this, are we?
No, it'll be fine. Chris, I don't know if you shared the audio.
How's it going, Canary Media?
Oh, no, it's good. It's good.
Yep.
Yeah.
I am currently in a battery-powered vehicle on my way to see a power plant that provides energy storage to the grid using batteries that used to be in electric vehicles. That's the concept of a second life, that instead of throwing away an old EV battery or having to recycle it, which costs money, you can actually use some of them to store solar power, store grid power, and discharge it when it's useful. So I'm heading out to Lancaster, California. This is the northern part of LA County. It's the western part of the Mojave Desert, so much more dry, arid landscape. And you're going to see a company that is already operating a Second Life battery plant, competing in the California ISO power markets and apparently making money at it. Here's the sneak peek.
This is Freeman Hall, CEO of B2U Storage Solutions, and he's standing in front of a container filled with used Nissan Leaf batteries. Freeman's company figured out an efficient way to reuse these car batteries in their original casings to store power for the grid. Now they operate a second life battery plant with 2.75 megawatts and 4 megawatt hours of storage attached to a 1 megawatt solar plant. That's small for an energy storage plant these days, but huge for one made of used EV batteries.
Well, it's about 10:30 in the morning, and because
You're
You're
muted.
muted, Chris.
I'm not going to watch the whole thing with you guys because it's going to be a while, but imagine right now you have all these Tesla cars all over the place. You're going to need to do something with those batteries, right? Imagine right now Tesla says, come back, give your Tesla back to us. They take the battery out, put it into a system like that. And now they're running giant megawatt size battery backups for like cities, right? Where basically you have on peak while it's charging, and then during the nighttime they can discharge and basically move towards a more like efficient system, right? So during the daytime, solar charges the batteries, at night it discharges it, right? And all of this is just recycled old Tesla EV batteries, because eventually you're gonna have to do something with those batteries. Once their useful life in terms of EV is out of the way. It's still kind of cool though to see this kind of like stuff evolving, because one of the negative arguments that I hear a lot about when it comes to EVs is, what are you guys going to do with the Tesla? What are you guys going to do with all the batteries like after their life is over?
Yeah,
Well, those
And I
batteries,
think-
dude, those batteries last a long time. I mean, the cars that have been on the road for 8 years, 10 years have only experienced an 8% degradation. So they last for a long time. And so I don't know that that's necessarily going to be an immediate market for these cars, for these batteries. But the guy JB Straubel, from a guy who used to work at Tesla, started a mining company. Well, it's a mining. This is basically
no, he's recycling. He's
battery recycling. Yeah, battery recycling company.
Yeah.
It's called Redwood Materials. There's actually talk. People think that I saw on Twitter there was buzz that he might actually get it invited to the board, or that eventually Tesla could acquire this company. So this is him. He left Tesla in 29. And that's Drew Baglino took over his. So
Are they public?
no, they're not. Unfortunately,
I think Bill Gates was an investor in this, right?
MP Materials is like MP
I
Materials.
don't think so. I've never heard that.
What in this?
He said Bill Gates invested in this. I've never heard that.
I can't.
Yeah, it says right here, Redwood's investors include Ford, Fidelity, and Bill Gates's fund. Yeah. They raised 700 billion. It's through Bill Gates Breakthrough Energy Ventures.
700 billion or 700 million?
700 million. Sorry.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, still, so there you go. So there is a market for this. I think Redwood was the one that was trying to do. When I said mining before, I misspoke. They were trying to do like a mining of without like a environmentally friendly mining, meaning a bunch of people have all these like old cell phones, old batteries, and they were trying to pay people or at least get all of those. They were saying something like there's enough. What was it? There's enough lithium and enough of the rare earth materials already out there in like old iPhones and stuff that are sitting in people's drawers, and they were trying to create a program to get those materials so that they could make EVs. So I don't know. I haven't heard much of news about how that's advanced since then, but yeah, there's people that are looking into this. And look, the Nissan Leaf, that 24 kilowatt hour battery is exactly what a Powerwall is. That's 24 kilowatts. So it totally makes sense. That's more than enough for like 3 days of critical systems backup. And so
I think it's 10 kilowatts. I thought it was 10 or somewhere around there, not 24.
20 a Powerwall? 24.
Yeah, I think that's too much.
Wait, so
either way, that's still a lot. It's a lot.
It's a ton. It's great.
So when a Tesla is done, the battery, it can't just be like thrown in the trash. Like something has to be done with the battery is what you guys are saying.
You don't have to, but why would you waste that? 97% or 92 to 97% of the material in the battery is recyclable. The only stuff that you can't get out of the battery is the casing materials, like the glues and the epoxies that are used to hold it together. But the raw materials, you could totally take them out. And considering what you have to go through, how environmentally disastrous some of the rare earth stuff is, like cobalt, right? You've all seen the videos. It makes sense to just keep recycling that stuff. Just pull it back out and reuse it.
The other thing is like what is the cost of recycling that battery? That's the other question. I mean, outside the material end, if you're covering this whole thing in epoxy, I mean, I've seen the teardowns of that battery, right? Like, dude, they have to like do some serious like pulling and pushing to get those like each
That's
cell
Monroe,
out of
because
the thing.
that's 3 guys in Monroe's shop. You put
No,
a
but that's
machine
what I
on that.
mean.
You put a
Yeah,
machine
but
on that just literally opens those batteries up. They'll be able to do it.
Powerwall is
that-
13.5 kilowatt hours.
Yeah.
Okay.
By the way.
Okay.
Look, I saw them on Monroe thing where they had to do it manually, but you got to realize at some point there will be a process to deal with this. It's going to take some time, obviously, and a company like Redwood is going to make that happen, where we will be able to recycle these because it's so useful and expensive to mine it. So that's why they're going to just figure it out. I don't consider this as big an issue, but even though I keep hearing from the bears, this is anything I hear from anybody. Like when my father brings this up, it's like, your battery's going to be dead in 7 years. What are you going to do with it? Well, I'm like, my warranty's for 10. So I'm like,
I got a new one.
And I would have upgraded 4 years before that.
yeah.
Well, here's a question: is the newer cars with Tesla like the batteries replaceable or no?
No.
Like, is it?
Oh no,
actually
it's
built
part
into-
it's part of the structure now.
Really?
Well, depending if they're if they're using the 4680 cells, then it's part of the battery pack itself is structural. It just doesn't make sense to have a structure holding these batteries that are already strong themselves, right?
I wonder if the Europeans will rule on this just like they did with Apple, saying, "Look, if you're going to sell, you have to be able to replace the battery."
Replace
I don't think so.
I mean, I personally would like to see a battery that's replaceable, because let's say something happens to that battery pack, right? Something's degraded in that battery pack. I would much rather just be able to replace the battery than replace the entire car.
The thing is, you still can. There's people, you've seen them online complaining about the cost of it's still a very, you have to understand, it's such an integral part of the machine. You have to weigh the cost of doing all of that versus just getting a new vehicle.
No, I mean, but
if you get to an issue where the battery needs to be replaced, what are we talking about here? Fire?
No, more like flooding. Like, what if, like, right now my car was sitting somewhere, where like a hurricane hit and it just got flooded, right? The battery like water got into the battery.
I mean, that's a lost cause for a regular car. That's over.
Yeah.
A regular car is done.
But that's what I mean. That with a Tesla, I would be hoping that, hey, if I just replace the battery, that would end up, let it work. Like, you know what I mean? Like with the cell phone.
But other parts,
remember?
Other parts oxidize. Like I would not want to take a car that was sitting in pond water and fucking swamp.
I mean, like I said, in terms of replaceability, I would like to be able to replace the battery and keep the car. Even from like a collector standpoint, like one day I want to be, like, let's say I have a classic car. I want to have a car that I could just use in the future.
I guess those TFC spreads are really paid off by then.
Printing. He's already thinking.
Hopefully they will.
He's already thinking of a car museum in his house.
I'm just saying that this is one of those things that, from an optionality standpoint, another car company could probably end up saying, "Look, Tesla has chosen to do this. We are user replaceable Well, not user replaceable, but we're replaceable battery. Like we can actually replace the battery, so you never have to worry about your battery degrading."
I like that. I wish everybody sort of had to make a replaceable battery. And that's why I like NIO, that their battery was replaceable. But at the end of the day, the reason Tesla is going to succeed in this manufacturing thing is because they're making a structural battery pack. They have less weight on their car. It's going to be more aerodynamic. It's going to be all integrated, easier to build. So for them, it makes no sense.
I'm trying to understand
manufacturing part of it.
As soon as you make the battery replaceable, you now need to have a system you have to design in and out. You have to design connectors. Those are points of failure, right?
But don't they already have that?
No.
Well, no, they have it for the current Y. We're talking about the future.
Yeah,
we're talking about the 4680 structural battery pack.
Pieces. It's essentially 3 pieces. You cast the back of the car, you cast the front of the car, you have the structural battery pack, you connect everything to it, and then you bolt
I feel like this is something of a deviation from what the original vision of what Tesla had. I still remember the video where the Tesla car came into the refueling station, and they just, like the machine would automatically figure out where the screws were and to replace the battery. Now they flipped the script.
Because they found that it was inefficient. Even for something as simple as this, I saw some videos on that. They were saying that type of battery swap technology doesn't necessarily work in all climates. When you heat or freeze metal, it expands and contracts, right? So if you have vehicles in say Michigan, right, where there's a lot of snow, and you expose those vehicles you expose the insides of the vehicles to certain elements, you are going to cause more damage to that vehicle, or could in the future, right?
I just don't. I mean, you can't use seals. I mean, that's what every car right now has. You have
talk to Sammy Monroe. What he thinks about seals. Anytime you can eliminate or reduce a part, Chris is
right. Chris is right in terms of like, yes, this is the ideal scenario, but there's a reason Tesla's not doing that because it wasn't economical. This is the way they can massively scale and bring the prices down where more people can afford EVs. So don't forget that part. That part's also important. Maybe in the future it'll be regulated, like you're saying, and everyone has to have a replaceable battery. Like, why does an Apple phone have a replaceable battery? That's idiotic. Okay, you forget about the car. Apple can't. I can't even replace my Apple phone without like.
I was just going to bring that
special
up.
guy doing hot gluing it, blowing the hot air gun, pulling off everything apart.
What about a MacBook? What about a MacBook?
Oh, you can't do
man?
anything.
But there's
yeah.
a reason. But there's a reason why
Your RAM is soldered on. Okay, your hard drive and your RAM is soldered on right now.
It's all about the Benjamins, baby. You don't get to 3 trillion without having to screw over some consumers.
But it also eliminates points of failure. You have to understand if everything is attached and connected to it, it's a unibody design. It's easier to construct, right? We came from a time. Listen, we came from a time when like your BlackBerry, you had replaceable batteries, and so when they switched over to that, it felt like they were taking something away. But I mean, have you really had any problems with your MacBook battery or your iPhone battery in years? Has it
not yet?
Not yet. Maybe not yet. But how long?
No, I have. I had swelling in my MacBook, by the way. It was old.
I have it in mine too. Look at right now. Look at this battery right now. But this computer's from 2015.
So basically, you've proven your own point, Carlos.
No,
I wish you could replace that battery.
Dude. It's from 2015. This thing right here.
It's meant to be thrown away, just like a Tesla after 4 years.
Yeah, I should have upgraded this thing a long time ago, but I keep.
We're trying to become rich here, Chris. We can't have people keep.
Yeah, but that's how you become rich, by not having to constantly replace shit that you don't need to replace. Like I look, my phone is an iPhone 10. Okay,
that's a mistake. You should.
I love this phone. I love this phone. No, because
it's almost not. Yeah, I have a 14 and I have a 10. They're almost exactly the same.
No, the 10 is old, bro. It's 2017. It's 6 years old.
Almost exactly the same.
Come on now,
dude.
Unless you're streaming VR, 3D VR porn, you're fine.
Yeah, look, homie in the chat right there, Kevin. Apple knows a thing or two about 3 trillion. Guys, don't question the most valuable company in the world on their technique.
Apple has proven it that if
it works. Okay?
If you make your own connectors, Tesla did that. If you put your battery inside there and you can't access it, Tesla did that. They're just following the playbook, man.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. They're just following the playbook. I agree. That's exactly
we're heading to 3 trillion.
So Chris, the first thing you're going to do with your 25% is upgrade that damn phone.
No, I'm gonna die with my fucking iPhone 10. No, it's got like it's still. I'll say one thing about this phone. After 6 years of actually using it, it still feels like the first day that I got it. Like I don't see any like.
Bro, but the battery must be horrible, right?
Yeah, how's your battery?
I would say it's about 80% of what it was, like the battery health, and so it does 99% of everything that I needed to. I mean, I work from home, like I have a charger always available to me.
Gets no calls
even when I go.
The battery's brand new.
Yeah, I mean,
but also it's the software. They're really that's one thing Apple's really good at. They're really good at extending the life. As long as you are not on a different architecture, like as long as it's the same sort of architecture, it's fine upgrading them for a while. Like even that's one of the reasons why I haven't replaced this laptop. I mean, other than the battery issue, the laptop's pretty good for what I need.
What year?
I'm starting to reach the end limit of it where I'm seeing that it is getting to the point where I think I sent you guys that in the WhatsApp. I was looking at that $2,000 MacBook Air. I was like, damn, man, I was never considered an Air before, but like it should do everything I need.
So Chris, I'm actually of the opinion that right to repair, which I think what you're discussing here is important, that we need to do this. And we had an episode where I said, like, this is important. And it has to happen at some point. But I think for the company to scale while they're actually still growing, that's kind of hard. It's kind of hard to do both. And I could see why Elon's point is let's just make it as cheap as possible right now and as efficiently to make. But at some point, I do hope the government comes in and says, no, you can't keep doing this. You have to access. And I don't know why they haven't done it for Apple yet. Like,
what do you mean?
Meaning I should be able to replace my own battery at this point for an Apple device. Like this is not rocket science.
That's an easy answer. That's an easy answer.
I agree, but I still can't without
literally... No, but I could. But no, I'll tell you exactly the reason why the U.S. has not made that a framework of adoption. It's because Apple has some of the best lobbyists in the country. You have to remember, big tech in America owns politicians. All right, no matter. I don't want to keep going political.
Wait, are you saying politics is corrupt, Chris? That's
hell yeah, it's corrupt. It's corrupt like a motherfucker. Welcome to America. Welcome to capitalism. That's how it works. I mean,
how do you know big tech owns politicians?
Look at the
AOC,
donations.
AOC is on a
Look at the
MacBook Pro. What are
donations.
you
Well,
talking
I'll
about?
tell you how you know. Actually, I'll tell you how you know.
She drives a Tesla.
The only time they ever tried to break up anybody in big tech was Microsoft, and that failed. And that was easy. They were obviously a monopoly. Everybody had Windows at that point. It was like 99.9999%. They destroyed Mozilla, the browser, with Internet Explorer. That was obvious. There was no one even questioning it, and they still couldn't do anything. That's why lobbyists obviously own it. So if they're not doing it to Microsoft, they're not going to do it to Apple. They're definitely not going to do it to Tesla, which is smaller.
That's true.
But-
Obama approved WhatsApp and Instagram acquisitions, and like now they're trying to retroactively get. It's like, nah, you can't go back.
No, that's ridiculous.
Well, because they were like, have you seen the data we've collected?
The
they're like,
revenues
"Oh,
we'll
we
pay in
didn't mean it, we
taxes
didn't mean
will
it."
be so good.
The only thing they did now is block Activision while they're in court and they're figuring it
Yeah,
out.
that-
But that's
yeah.
like the only thing they did after like 30 years of Microsoft's monopoly. Isn't that crazy? Like 40 years of Microsoft monopoly.
1 second, guys. 1 second.
What would it take for Tesla to acquire a company that the United States is like, no, you can't do that? Like, is there any world in which
I think
US
I think right now they're too small. I mean, I know we talk about them all the time, but Tesla does not have the majority of selling any vehicles. So I don't think you can block them legally. I don't think you could say, "Oh, you're a monopoly." That's going to be hard to prove.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's move on to Bitcoin. We'll get Carlos's thoughts in a
Really?
second.
Bitcoin, okay.
31,000. It's here. I'm thinking of buying some Bitcoin, Vitaly. You know what I'm saying? Get a
Oh
little
my
bit of
God, you're
Bitcoin.
the fucking guy. You're like, yo, I'm gonna buy at the top. I'm gonna sell.
He's
at
like,
the
"Oh, it's
bottom."
60. I got to get in this."
I gotta get in.
He's like, I'm really waiting for like 60 grand before I come in.
So,
I'm gonna have to. I might have to go in a minute. I just got one of those 911 calls from a friend.
okay, no worries.
Something's definitely up. So,
All right.
but anyway, yeah, dude. Coin. I didn't even check that shit. Today was just like that green ass day. I was like,
Why do you
what
think
the-
today was so green, bro? Before July 4th, what was the reason? Is there any reason?
Because Bitcoin is freedom. Nah, I don't know.
Bitcoin is freedom.
Fidelity.
I don't
Everyone.
know. I don't know.
Everyone.
Pull up, yo,
helping.
Vitaly, pull up that tweet. We got Bob Lucas to write us back. That was amazing.
That was cool.
Pull
He
up
answered back.
Vitaly's latest tweet on what he quote tweeted
Bob Lucas is a big figure in crypto. If anyone follows crypto, and
Sounds like
me,
a country
me and
thing.
Carlos, I responded to Bob Lucas about, like, "Look, dude, what the fuck do you mean? Okay, are we going up? We going down?"
He did a very cryptic post saying Bitcoin crossed 31,000, and he was like, "It looks like the barn doors are about to open." And Vitaly's like, "What does that
barn
mean?"
doors? What barn doors? Is this
And I was like,
good?
it means that your fly is open. And I was like, no, it means that the cows are about to run. And he's like, well, why doesn't Bob Lucas just say that? And Bob Lucas wrote back, because that would be no fun. If you know Bob Lucas saying that,
Yeah, he's
That's
saying Bitcoin's
so
going up.
fucking
That's what he's
bullish.
saying. Bitcoin's
So I
going
should
up.
buy some Bitcoin. That's what you're saying.
you should
well,
have
he's
bought
saying
Bitcoin.
it. I'm not
That's what
saying
you
it.
should. You should have bought Bitcoin when older brothers Carlos and Vitaly told you about it, and it was at 18, at 20, at 25, at 30, whatever the fuck.
It's going to be a pattern that repeats. We told him about Enovix. Enphase is luckily still down. We told him about Tesla.
Yeah.
It's going to be a pattern here. And Bitcoin and Ethereum.
I mean, maybe, or Bitcoin could be a pile of horseshit. I mean, both options.
It's going to be a very expensive pile of horseshit.
Oh yeah, it's going to zero.
Look, you never know. You never know. Maybe. Look, I think in a bull market, Bitcoin could do very well. It's just I don't feel comfortable holding it. So I'll be happy.
Right.
for you
I don't
guys,
feel
but-
comfortable holding lots of cash.
No,
in
I
my
don't.
hand. I prefer debt.
I don't like it. I don't agree with it. I think it's stupid. I think the whole 21 million thing is nonsense. I think the whole thing is ridiculous. So I'm not going to participate in the upside. And I want you guys to, because you guys got in very
No,
nice.
First of all, I respect that, because if you have no conviction in something, we keep talking about it, you don't need to buy it. There is
Zero
a bull
conviction.
market. I agree with, once again, I agree with Jim Cramer. There's a bull market happening every day in something that you have conviction in. You don't need to have conviction in things we have conviction in. Doesn't make any sense. But we're still going to make fun of you about it.
Of
That's
course.
going to happen.
Here's a
But
question.
it is funny.
Why
It is
would-
funny because you should be your generation should be the one. This goes back to our like freedom and privacy conversation. You guys should be the one that are pushing back against, say, even the current monetary system. This is all happening when you're 25. If you were married right now, and you were trying to buy, you were trying to get married and like buy a house and start a family. This is just was a horrendous financial environment for you. And you're not upset about it. Maybe it's because you're not you're not with someone serious, but there's a lot of people that like, they just not going to have a home, or they can't get a home. And that's a serious problem. Home ownership is probably like the pillar foundation of of true wealth, of really becoming financially free. You don't know any like super rich that are renters, except for Andrew Tate, apparently.
Yeah, I actually think I'm more mature at 25 for not wanting Bitcoin, because I actually am trying to learn how to read a 10K. And I think there's like a lot more nuance to that versus just FOMOing. Because my generation, I've seen, they bought NFTs and Bitcoin in 2021 because for the hell of it. And that's where I was like, you guys are gamblers. You don't know anything you're doing. Learn how to read a 10K, learn what stock-based compensation is, the shit that I didn't know 2 years ago. And that stuff I'm so much more a junkie for versus, oh, it'll go up and then Vitaly can offload all of his shares to me. You know, when he like, I don't want to do that.
It's coins, buddy. It's not shares.
You know, whatever, fucking freedom
So
coins, whatever. Chris, go ahead.
So why would someone put money in Bitcoin and not Grayscale Bitcoin Trust, considering that Bitcoin Trust is still at a 30% discount? And if this actually becomes a legitimate ETF situation where now multiple vendors are being approved for ETFs, could GBTC convert themselves into an ETF in the future?
What you're saying is possible, but the problem is you're betting on a third party to control your Bitcoin now. If something happens to them, you don't own any Bitcoin. It's not.
What
yours.
about But what if
point of
Fidelity...
Bitcoin, which you're missing, is that you have to actually control it, and that's what the power lies in it. That you have access to something that's not related to the equity market, and what you're talking about is related to the equity market, and can go down.
What about the? I don't know if it's highly unlikely scenario, but what if on this scenario of someone who's trying to start a Bitcoin ETF, instead of going into the market and paying full price for Bitcoin, whatever it's trading at, why wouldn't they just buy GBTC as a proxy, where basically they would end up owning all the Bitcoin that GBTC owns at a discount? Maybe they'll give a little bit of a premium compared to what it's selling at right now. So like if you look at GBTC's stock price right now, it's trading at a 33% discount to net asset value. It was up 6.57% today. It's a lot more liquid, and you don't necessarily have to deal with the custody issues that you do with Bitcoin. I'm just asking.
No. Yeah. There's no such thing as a custody issue. You want to be the custody of it. You have to look at it as let's talk about it as a currency, right? If you're going overseas and you want to change your currency from one currency to another, wouldn't you want to, if you're changing it, say to the euro, actually hold the euro? You have to look at it this way. It's currency. It's not a stock. And so you're saying if you're changing your currency from one thing to another, right?
I mean, I could just sell this. I could just sell the GPTC shares that I have.
But you're adding an extra. You're adding an extra level of risk.
But it's easier. But it's easier.
No, but you're adding an extra.
No, he's right. It's easier for him if he's an equity trader. That's true. But everyone can have a Coinbase in America account, so you can own it.
Yeah, but that's once again, it comes back to Coinbase being, shut down on certain things, and like.
But the value of the value of Coinbase's stock does not affect your crypto holdings, is what I'm saying.
I'm not saying that. I'm saying
ETF trades independently of people buying in and out of the ETF. That's independent of the price of Bitcoin.
Right. But no. What I'm trying to say is with Coinbase, you're still dealing with the issues of, legality and stuff. Like, let's say right now you have because at the end of the day, Coinbase is an exchange. What if the federal government comes in and says, you know what, we're outlawing this exchange, and you end up getting hit like what's the Binance or some of the other things that are happening? Why not just buy something that's already legitimized by the SEC and everything else?
Because you can take those coins off the exchange and put them on a hard wallet, and no one can ever take. You're the only person that has access to them.
But then again, it's like, once again, I have to manage.
That's like money in cash.
Right?
That's like cash under the mattress. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, but then again, I'm still managing that little piece of device, like that USB. What if I lose all the passwords to it? Right? Once again, that money that I'll never have again. With at least something that's traceable, it's different, right? Where you have an account.
First of all, that's fine. It's just not as good as owning the actual thing. It's having a Mona Lisa or having the right to go to the museum to look at it. There's a difference, isn't it?
Yeah,
so that's the difference.
I would say if I wanted to speculate in Bitcoin, I would do it probably through MicroStrategy, where I would just buy options on MicroStrategy, right? Because now
you're just gambling on some third party, which is an equity, a company that can fail and lose all its Bitcoin and sell out one day too low because they're going bankrupt or whatever. That's not the same thing. You keep returning to that, but it's not the same thing.
But if they lose, wouldn't Bitcoin lose?
No, no. MicroStrategy goes bankrupt. Yes,
Oh.
Bitcoin might be affected for a day because they have to liquidate. That's true, but
Yeah,
Bitcoin
but why
will
would they go
return.
bankrupt? They would only go bankrupt. They have
You
so
know how
much
many
Bitcoin
you know how
that-
many exchanges and people have gone bankrupt with Bitcoin and lost Bitcoin, and
Yeah.
Bitcoin
That's
returns.
fair. That's
And
fair.
Bitcoin returns.
And understand, if people lose their Bitcoin, like if they lose it and they they no longer have access to it, that's actually good for us. That creates a floor. You can't sell the Bitcoin. That means it can never be sold.
There's
Those
no
coins-
21 million anymore. Now it's what, like 17?
Yeah, now it's 21 million minus whatever you've got. I mean, that's
Yeah.
it. That's what creates value. That's what, when they say they're burning coins or they're burning, like what was it, XRP or even Ethereum, that's what they mean. They mean those coins can never be sold. And so it effectively reduces the supply, and that inherently increases the price of the asset.
Well, and for
And at the
Bitcoin,
end of the day-
there's a fixed amount. It's 21 million for anyone who
For,
doesn't
for
know.
Bitcoin, yes.
And then what happens is a lot of people have lost it. So we're down to like 17, 18 million coins and not 21. So the value of our coins goes up as MicroStrategy goes
Again,
bankrupt
it
and loses their coins.
The value only goes up if I know the value is a function of speculation, but the value goes up if people realize that they want to own the coins.
That's true too. The network. Yes.
Yes.
But there's nothing you can actually do with the coins other than own it, and that's the value that people are.
Well, no, you first of all, you can exchange value. I've actually been paid in crypto, by the way, for jobs that I've done because I said you can pay me in crypto if you want.
How stupid
don't
were
care.
those people? How much do they regret?
I regret. I
you
took
in
XRP. I regret it. That was dumb of me.
Well, you should have sold before they got
I
rid
should
of
have taken Bitcoin instead of XRP. This
I
was
sold
years ago.
before.
Yeah. But I'm saying you can't exchange value. Like I've done it, and I've actually bought websites with crypto. Sometimes it's just as fun. I wasn't doing it like because I'm a serious crypto head.
Yeah,
I
but I'm
just
talking
wanna-
about going to McDonald's and paying for do you think
You
that's
can.
ever
There's
gonna
credit cards now.
You can,
where
listen,
can
you can,
use
you can, and it's an instant transaction. But
instant
like,
transaction. on your credit
imagine
card.
now you're trying to buy something for $100 million, like overseas, right? How do you transport? How heavy is $100 million worth of gold?
Yeah, but the average person's not doing that.
I'm not saying that, but when
It
we're
doesn't have
talking
to
about
be. You're
what's
making
the
it crazy.
value
It
of
could be.
it,
It could be $1,000.
Like, this is a
Yeah,
network. I would think people have to do transactions and like it has to actually have value. They're buying stuff, selling stuff. That's
you can use it, but you can also use it anywhere in the world at any time. It
I mean,
eliminates all of the.
I actually agree with
exchange.
Eric that it is more of a store of wealth and it's not
Yes.
actually for transactions. I actually agree with that.
Yeah, I agree. I think
Bitcoin
that's-
is meant as a store of wealth and a way to hedge against the possible collapse of equities or something going on with equity markets
fiat currency.
or fiat currency. So it's just smart to be invested in something that's not correlated to fiat, to the equity market. That's it. And I think Tom Lee says it best. Get 1% of your portfolio. If that goes away, you will not be crushed because you still have hood options. Okay. Or this becomes 20% of your portfolio and you'll be very happy in 10, 15 years.
if you're
right?
buying some Bitcoin, buy it on Hood. Give me that interest revenue. I need some money. All right,
I would say use
You
Coinbase
you
because
just did
I
a
have-
sponsored ad for Robin.
for Robinhood.
So one of the things I wanted to just highlight real quickly is this is a comparison between MicroStrategy stock versus Bitcoin, right? Bitcoin pricing, right? So if you go all the way back to, of course, to like 10 years ago, that's when MicroStrategy wasn't exactly investing everything in Bitcoin. That kind of changed with Michael Saylor's decision to be a little bit more, but you can see that they're pretty much trading in line.
Yep.
But overall, if you look at the last couple of years, in terms of overall return, is actually higher in MicroStrategy than it is in than just owning Bitcoin outright. Like the last 6 months, if you owned Bitcoin, you would have been up 82%. Where if you own MicroStrategy, you would have been up 136%.
You're looking at
Because
you're looking at such a short
Right.
time frame. If
But that's-
MicroStrategy tanks tomorrow, the price of Bitcoin is that affected?
Yeah, but the thing is, I can buy puts on MicroStrategy. I can't
Mhm.
buy puts on Bitcoin.
Yeah, no.
right?
So you're talking about
Okay.
trading.
Yeah.
Go ahead. That makes total sense. I'm not
You can
against
buy
that.
options on crypto. You can
Yeah.
buy-
Yeah, you know.
So like
you
right
should do
now,
that.
you guys know I'm more on the side of, hey, listen, I don't mind following in the run-ups, but I also want to make sure I protect my downside hedge. So right now, if I was trying to, let's say, play this current not volatility, but this current thing in Bitcoin, I'd probably do it via options on MicroStrategy, right?
That's not
where
a
I
bad
can
bet.
actually-
Sure.
You know, so
It's not a
that's
bad-
the way
I
not a bad
understand,
idea.
but it's also not the same thing as owning the actual asset. It's just not.
Yeah, but then again, like I don't want to deal with the hassle of like
Yeah,
managing
okay.
Bitcoin as well. So
That's
you
fair.
know.
That's fair.
Yo, MicroStrategy was up 700% when Bitcoin was at the highs. They were $1,000 a share February 12th.
Yeah, but they were trading at a significant premium. Right now, they're trading at a discount to their Bitcoin holdings. That's the big difference.
Yeah, because they've been accumulating ever since then.
Right. Now, the thing is, though, a lot of the money that they use to buy Bitcoin, they issued via debt. So that debt is actually kind of expensive too. Like it's no longer the cheap debt that was around. Remember, MicroStrategy is also a viable business. They are generating cash. It's just not a lot of cash, but most of the money that they're getting, they're literally piling right back into their Bitcoin holdings. You'd really have to do a deep dive into MicroStrategy.
And wasn't
but-
he ousted? Wasn't Michael Saylor
Yeah, he's
ousted?
gone. He's gone.
So you got to be
Yeah.
careful with a company like that. It could turn around on you and say, you know what, we're out of this. That's it.
Well, the point is, you're still just investing in any company,
You're
in
just
any other
buying
company,
the company, yeah.
right? And the price of Bitcoin will affect MicroStrategies, but the price of MicroStrategies will not affect Bitcoin. That's what I think the real danger is. Anyway, that's my 2 cents. I think.
And
but
if
in a bull-
if
in
it
a
does
bull
it for
run,
5
I
minutes, if it does it for 5 minutes and then it's
Yeah.
done.
Yeah, exactly. It just creates a buying opportunity. But
Yeah.
All right, we're gonna end the pod anyway, Carlos. So if you got to go, that's fine because we're at an hour.
oh
Yeah,
shit,
they own.
it went
they
so
currently
fast.
own-
Really fast.
They currently own $4.6 billion worth of.
Goodness.
fucking
I do want to
crazy,
point
right?
out, we talk about a couple of things. Ethereum is the other thing, and it's also sort of pumping and doing kind of well. $2,000 for an ETH coin, and now they're on the staking thing, which is important because their float is actually going down. So they're burning more coins, or wherever they're sending them to some address to burn them. So they have now a deflationary currency supposedly, or something that's going on like that. Maybe someone in the comments can point it out. I'm not sure exactly how much they're burning, where they're burning it, but the new model, the staking model, is definitely very interesting to look at if you're interested in Ethereum.
Yeah. Saylor also just bought another 12,000 Bitcoin for 347 million over the last 2 months.
He bought it for MicroStrategy or for himself?
Yeah, no, for MicroStrategy, because he's still on the board at MicroStrategy, owns significant portion of MicroStrategy. He may not be like at the CEO level, but he's still in control of that company. So
Okay.
it's kind of nuts, man. I'm telling you, MicroStrategy is
I gotta check
it's
that.
up there. Yeah,
Okay.
I have
See
to look
Carlos.
at I have
Bye,
to
Carlos.
look at the net asset value discount that you would get from buying MicroStrategy versus Bitcoin. But if I was trying to be bullish on Bitcoin, I'd just buy I can't believe I didn't pull the trigger on MicroStrategy. There were like some really good cheap options like in January that I could have bought on MicroStrategy that I was literally like, oh my God, I should do it.
Well,
Like,
you could
if
have bought
anything,
cheap
it'll just be-
Coinbase.
Huh?
I actually sold puts. Remember when I did that on the show? I don't know if you remember Mitt.
Yeah. I remember.
They tanked to what, $50? I forgot what
30,
happened.
30, 46, I think.
46
Yeah.
bucks. I
Yeah.
sold some puts. I was like, this is ridiculous. I'll buy it all day long
Yeah.
at $35, whatever it was.
Yeah. Did you end up buying some calls with it, or you just took the cash?
No,
and held on to it?
I'm just so it's sort of like I took the cash off of Coinbase because it was too low, but I'm not interested in Coinbase the stock as much
Gotcha.
because I just would rather have Bitcoin and Ethereum than Coinbase because it's a proxy, right? It's like if Bitcoin does well, Coinbase will do well.
Yeah, like right now, like today, MicroStrategy was up almost 10%. It's almost up another 2%.
What's Coinbase up? Coinbase was up today. A
Coinbase
lot.
up today?
Yeah.
That's be up.
It's like almost $80, I think.
It's 11%. It was up today. So they really rocketed from their lows. Like they're almost at $80 right now. So, I mean, yeah, each person's gonna have to decide how they want to approach it. But and I know you guys are more like, hey, I just want to buy the coin and hold on to it. So yeah.
Well, we've been doing this for a long time. This is not the first year I'm holding Bitcoin.
Yeah.
It's literally been over a decade for Bitcoin. So
I don't know if you guys have like another 5 minutes, but I just wanted to point out one thing real quick. The market is screaming red in terms of greed right now. So that's that's one of those things that like we really have to be careful with what we're buying, because I'm seeing a lot of shit coins start running, not shit coins, but shit goes starting to run up
and
as
shit
well.
coins too. That's the same thing is happening.
Which is kind of sad, because like you want a healthy flow of good investing decisions coming in, not a environment where you're propping up zombie companies, right? So I would say right now there are a good pool of people that are speculating again and are comfortable speculating, and I'm a little bit worried about that. Like the call volumes have just gone through the roof. Like everyone and their mother is just buying a ton of calls all over the place. And I don't know it's going to be really good for Robinhood, by the way. So I think your call on Robinhood is going to play out very well going into the next quarter, because I see a lot of retail starting to jump back into the market, and most of them use Robinhood as a primary platform. And so that means that the transaction fees is what Robinhood is going to be making a good amount of money on. So I think Robinhood is a good investment for the next few quarters, to see where that goes. And I agree with you. I think Robinhood is a great platform. Like, I use it. I have Fidelity too, which I use for my like majority of my brokerage needs, but I also like that trading platform, like the options platform that I get on Robinhood. And it's convenient. Let's just say that. Like, there are other platforms out there, but Robinhood just makes it very easy to understand. I know without a doubt that they're probably price gouging me a few dollars here and there on a per transaction basis, but I'm willing to accept that considering the speed of the transactions that I'm getting and overall my experience with it. So I'm willing to pay that penalty compared to Fidelity, which Fidelity like makes me go through 10 different hoops just to do one transaction. And I can't necessarily see those transactions in the clearest way possible that I can on Robinhood. Like, unfortunately, that's just the reality of it. So do I mind paying a few dollars extra just to make sure that I get it at a price that I'm targeting at? Yeah. Not to mention, I also use limits. I try not to do market orders. I do limit orders. So that limits my, my like price, like what's the word? Like my ability to be price gouged. So, you know.
Price slippage.
Yes, absolutely.
Vitaly, have you ever made a Robinhood account at all, or just never tried?
I do have a Robinhood account, but I prefer the problem. It is easier to use. Okay, that's true. The problem is if you want to call in an individual, and sometimes I do have actual real questions and multiple accounts and SEP IRA and all these things. So it's like, Robinhood is not going to solve my issues.
Yeah,
I need someone to actually pick up the call and guide me through it. Or tax questions. If you have actual real questions, oh my God.
Yeah.
You know,
same thing with like a bond desk. Like, I actually have a bond guy that like I have their personal, well, they're not personal, but they're professional wealth manager. So they'll actually call, like I can just call them and say, hey, listen, can you get me this new offering at this price? Or can you clear out these bonds? Because like bonds are very illiquid. So like to transact in them, you need to have a really good broker on the other side that knows what they're doing, so that this way they're putting things out there, and they'll tell you like right up front, like, this is what the ask price is, this is what the bid price is, like this is what I can get you, I can put an order in for you. So if you're trying to invest in bonds and stuff, you definitely need to have like a reputable broker. You can't do that with Robinhood. I do want to say though, Robinhood, it's good for options trading. Options trading on Robinhood is amazing. Like, when you sent me your transaction stuff for TFC, when you were trying to do Vitaly, I was like, man, you should just do it on Robinhood. It's much easier to see and understand. And that's why Amit was able to do it with TFC also. Whereas with Fidelity and with TD Ameritrade and everything else, you have to like, you don't necessarily see everything in one page.
No,
like
I had to look up a tutorial because I've never done a spread. I had to look it up. Make sure I can do that. And
literally on Robinhood, you do two things. It already auto turns into the strategy you're trying to use.
Right.
Like, the algorithms
no, you have to pick the strategy, and then it didn't actually have the right name. It's called something else. I forgot. But so I just had to make sure I'm doing the right thing before I lose a lot of money. Thanks to Chris.
Hey, you're up, so shut up. See?
Am I? I haven't checked actually. I don't know.
You
if
should. You're up. I mean,
me and Chris are up. That's for sure.
Well, you guys got it earlier.
Yeah, but the market like prices, that's the problem with doing things like spreads, right? Where spread prices are very volatile because you're not only betting on one leg, you're betting on two legs. Anytime you add additional legs to an option strategy, things can get really wonky very quickly because someone could be super bullish on TFC in the long term at a much higher strike price, and they could bid the crap out of that. Now, if you short sold those, you're going to look like it's going to be bad for you, because now what's going to happen is that price automatically jumps. So now it looks like, oh my God, like I'm down on my position. But once that order is complete and the market kind of like stabilizes again, it'll come back to where it's supposed to be. So like the other day on Friday, like at 4:00, the price at the short end of our strategy on it ended up being overbought. So you saw like our account went from this to this. And then the thing is, though, Monday morning, once everything normalized, it was back up here again. But overall, our timing is good because we got in at such a floor price we're seeing we're still up.
Yeah, well, it also doesn't matter. I like these leaps, first of all, because you have 2 years for your strategy to work out no matter what. And at that point, you know, just like when I buy, Leaps is the only thing I buy. I do not buy short-term options. I think it's too
Yeah.
dangerous. If I'm going to do a call, it's going to be usually in the money, which I did with these TFC things, by the way, because I bought it. It was a 30, the stock price was 30 something. I bought $30 calls, right?
Yeah.
So it was in the money. And same thing I do with Enphase. It has to be in the money,
Yeah.
and it's 2 years out, always.
Yeah. I do a little bit like different, where I will use the baseline as my bearish bearish price target. So if I have a price target on a stock that, let's say right now it's trading at $25 and my bearish price target in 2 years is $50, then what I'll do is I'll put I'll meet somewhere halfway in the middle and just do, okay, let me buy the call, right? That's let's say $30 or $32, right? And then my long side is way beyond that $50 range. And so this way I end up saying, well, look, I know that I'm paying a premium for my contract, but I know that in the worst case scenario, it'll be here. So I will still make money, right? Versus if I just go straight all the way into the future, it may not. So I'm getting a good amount of margin of safety, but once again, it all depends on the price targets that you have and the ability to
price
to match
directionality.
those.
You have to understand that price directionality.
All right, guys. Cool.
All right, good stuff. Thank you, 420 people, for being here. We'll be back tomorrow. Vitaly might not make it. Me and Chris will be here. And if him and Carlos can't make it because they actually have families and the kids got to see the fireworks, we'll get some guests up here. So have a good July 4th. If you guys can make it tomorrow, then tune in.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you guys for joining. See you tomorrow.
Before we go, happy July 4th, everybody, and enjoy the day, the barbecue.
Happy July 4th, everyone. Take care.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.